My name is Monica Hunter, and I am running to be your next Denver School Board Director for District 4. I was born and raised in Denver, and as a student in DPS, I witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of school closures supported by a school board that ignored the needs of the community. I never had teachers that looked like me until I went to college, so I became the teacher that I desperately needed as a kid. Once I became a classroom teacher, I advocated tirelessly for DPS educators to have the same workers' rights, regardless of if they were at an innovation school or a traditional public school. That led me to my work at the Colorado Education Association, where I proudly serve 40,000 educators and school professionals across the state as the first human and civil rights director. But what I am most proud of is being a mom. We have a beautiful blended family of 6 kids, all who have been in the district. You can trust my experience, but most of all, you can trust me as a parent, because when I'm fighting for my kids, I will also fight for yours. My name is Monica Hunter, and I would appreciate your vote on November 4th.
What are the top needs of the school district? How are Denver Public Schools doing educating kids across the city? What is going well? What is not going well?
The top 3 needs that I see in the district are funding, safety, and equity and achievement. But what stands out to me is how much safety and equity and achievement are impacted by funding. For example, class sizes are a direct effect of funding, and one-on-one support. Currently, my son is in a class with 34 other students. We have to ensure that educators have the support they need in the classroom in order to close those gaps. Equity and achievement is a huge concern. The disparity between students of color and white students must close. We need access to resources and funding for things like interventionists in order to close those gaps. What is going well is DPS has stood strong against the attacks from Trump and has ensured that the LGBT community and students from every background feel safe and welcomed in our schools. While DPS has made progress around closing the academic achievement gap and growth, there is a lot of work that must continue in order to close those gaps for all students.
The next question was submitted by a DPS student. In light of the recent Evergreen school shootings, how will you protect students from acts of gun violence? What measures, plans will you put in place?
So in my current role as the Director for Human and Civil Rights for the Colorado Education Association, serving 40,000 educators, I constantly take educators to the Capitol to lobby for common sense gun control and more resources directly to the classroom. My heart breaks for the students and educators that have experienced the violence and trauma because of gun violence. First, mental health and safety go hand in hand, and we must ensure that those conversations are happening through a lens of mental health. Students need access to mental health supports like psychologists, nurses, and full-time therapists at every school. I consistently speak to mental health educators and nurses who tell me about their unsustainable caseloads and traveling to multiple schools. We have to ensure that every school has what they need, and as a board member, I will do everything I can to pass ballot measures and mill levies to address mental health and safety in our district.
Can you explain where the money to fund our schools comes from? And what changes, if any, are needed to ensure that the district has the money it needs to deliver quality educational opportunities to all students?
Every year, we go to the Capitol to lobby legislators to fully fund our schools. There is an entire generation who have never experienced a fully funded classroom. And Colorado ranks 48 out of 50 states in per pupil funding. This past legislative session, educators from Colorado successfully lobbied legislators to rethink how they fund schools. For decades, when there was a deficit, the state would take money from education to balance the budget. This was called the budget stabilization factor. Also, Tabor restricts how much funding we can invest directly into schools. The solution is clear. We have to work collaboratively to lobby state legislators to ensure that Colorado is properly funded and that we repeal Tabor. Funding must go directly into classrooms, small class sizes, to interventionists, and also into specials like art, music, and dance.
What K through 12 personal experience most impacts your views on education? And is it relevant today?
So I never had a teacher or administrator that looked like me growing up. And I also didn't have an opportunity to learn a well-rounded view of history. I didn't learn about Indian boarding schools, internment camps, the depth of the Atlantic slave trade, or LGBTQ justice and history. We have to ensure that education represents all. That is still relevant today. Many schools do not have teachers of different backgrounds, and we must ensure that every student has access to history and LGBTQ justice, and we must ensure that we're not banning books as well. That is relevant because representation matters on every level.
How do you see the role of charter and innovation schools in the DPS system? How should the board ensure that all schools, regardless of governance model, offer high quality and equitable opportunities?
As a former teacher at an innovation school, I personally lobbied the school board to ensure that I would have access to the same rights as my educators at traditional public schools. Whether you are at an innovation or charter, I believe there has to be accountability. We must ensure that every school has the same things as far as discipline and high quality instruction. We must ensure that charter schools also offer collective bargaining rights to educators that want them. Innovation schools are great. It allows teachers and administrators to be flexible with things like curriculum. However, innovation and charter schools must have the same accountability as a traditional school.
Your website states, "My top priority is to protect education funding and ensure that resources go where they're needed most, to students and educators." With federal and state education funds being cut, how will you ensure that in District 4 resources go to students and educators?
Funding is the most important thing of our time right now. Many candidates will promise a lot of miracles and promises around what they can do for your child or for the district. I've heard people promise raises for educators, smaller class sizes, arts in every building, even SROs in every single school. Those are all directly impacted by funding. We have to ensure that the board can work collaboratively together to come up with solutions. Not only that, but be able to collectively go to the Capitol and lobby for funding. Without proper funding, we'll never be able to fix things like mental health, school safety, and class sizes. That is why that is my top priority as a school board member. District 4 is a crowded race, but make no mistake, our values could not be more different. As the only candidate who was a student in DPS and a classroom teacher, I know what it takes to truly put students first. I am also the only candidate in District 4 to be officially endorsed by every major education union in Denver, including the Colorado Education Association, the Denver Classroom Teachers Association, AFT, the Denver Area Labor Federation, and the Working Families Party. Those are composed of teachers, nurses, paras, food service, and school safety support officers, and working families, because they know I will put them first. While some in this race are backed by out-of-state billionaires who want to privatize education in Denver, others have contributed to the dysfunction of this current board. It is time for a qualified candidate and leader who can collaboratively be effective and be an effective voice for parents and teachers, not billionaires and not for Trump. My name is Monica Hunter, and I would appreciate your vote on November 4th. Thank you.